Here we go. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke. This is 365 Sports. Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades back from Dallas, Big 12 meetings. And we will get into that thing of what happened on Saturday in Orlando. And I know you want to get to that too. But all 18 schools represented up in Dallas, including the incoming 4, the 2 on their way out, the 4 that joined this year. What was that like, Mac? And thank you very much, as always, for your time.
Yeah, for a portion of the meetings, at least it was 18, and so a lot of people to have in one room, or some joined via Zoom, but probably that portion was a little bit of chaos, but no, really good meeting, positive. It was good to have everyone there. When we talk about, the future of the conference, future things, Oklahoma and Texas do not participate in that portion of the meetings. And so thought we did a lot of good work. The 16 of us as we think about the future. And then I thought we, had some really good conversations, just, things that we needed to address in the now with the 18.
How are the discussions when Texas and Oklahoma are involved? Obviously, they have their eye somewhere else. They're playing this weekend. But has that kind of become much more applicable or amicable, than maybe in the past?
Yeah, no, it's very amicable, and those parts of the meeting, those topics are very laser focused, and so there's not a lot of room for you to get off the tracks, and we'll talk about officiating reports and in the moment, and those types of things, just bowl game scenarios and basketball schedule, for this year, and things of that nature. So again, really focused, and then we probably I'm gonna guess 2/3 of the meeting are really just the 16 of us and talking about the future.
Mac, how soon do you guys get to football scheduling?
Yeah. So, this meeting, was an important meeting from the standpoint that we talked about just the formula, what we would call the matrix. And so how we would put, the schedule together. And, again, certainly appreciate the work with fellow colleagues, with an additional 4 other athletic directors, and so the 5 of us, along with Scott Draper, have spent time, putting that together. And so that was a big step for us to get over, and then we'll begin to start really putting together schedules and looking at sequencing and just making sure they follow our hard principles as well as soft principles, and certainly the matrix of how we do all of it. And so I would hope that by the championship game for certain, but we'll see how this next step and process goes, how quickly we can get through, looking at, the different variables and how the schedule actually comes together, with our principles.
Will there be initially teams in not quads as far as winning quads or pods, but is there going to be you're going to have your 3 or 4 you're going to play every year, and then you have how is that going to be difficult with 16 teams?
It's a challenge, and we're really looking at it, and probably sharing more than I should, but we're really looking at it, in terms of cycles of 4 years. The thing that's a little bit hard, and even though we talk about, a cycle of 4 years, we know that we're going to have to probably take an additional look after 2 years, just with the CFP and going to 12 teams and just making sure that what we're doing is making sense when we think about giving the Big 12 the best opportunity to have multiple teams in the playoffs. And part of this conversation, not necessarily maybe for this upcoming year, is we gotta be thinking about how many Power 5 teams do we want to play annually versus what the rest of the Power 5, Power 4 leagues what they're doing. Right now with 9 conference games and the mandate to play one of your 3 non-conference against a Power 5, you're having to play 10 Power 5. Well, how does that line up if the SEC is only playing nine Power 5? Does that give them a better opportunity to get more teams into the CFP? So those are all of the conversations that we're having, and obviously there's some fluidity to it, but I think we'll land in a good place here, hopefully by the championship game.
Mack, I guess that scheduling talk, did that also revolve around basketball, or was that John Rothstein report that came out yesterday about the league discussing playing perhaps 20 league games, not this season, but obviously not this season, but perhaps the following season? How much of the balance was football scheduling and basketball scheduling and just, I guess, scheduling galore, right?
Yeah, you said it right, Craig. Scheduling galore. And so, there was obviously, conversation, a lot of conversation about football scheduling. And then, we took time to address both men's and women's basketball, and then kind of just the rest of the sports globally. And we're actually going to have to, because time didn't allow and permit, we're going to have to actually come back to in a one-off meeting, really begin to drill down on the other sports. And certainly part of the other sport discussion is just the travel, and with midweek games, how do we deal with that when we think about the well-being of our student athletes, and then what I would tell you about the men's basketball schedule, specifically 20 games is certainly an option. You got to be thinking about, do you want a bye week? If you do with the 20-game schedule, you probably need to begin, conference play before Christmas rather than after Christmas. And so there's a lot of that going on, but, I think we're going to land that here pretty quickly. And, just because, we decide, X amount of conference games with men's basketball doesn't mean that will be the same number with women's basketball, vice versa. So, we're really allowing for some flexibility and autonomy, with each of those two different programs, meaning men's basketball versus women's basketball. So, but 20 games is certainly on the table.
Mack, I can't imagine the thought process on Saturday, 21-0, 28-7, 35-7. And I was going to joke about this, whether you had a little short list in your pocket you started looking at, but it was dire, and it was almost rock bottom. Can you try to explain what that comeback meant to the program, the athletic department, even though there are still warts as they host Texas Tech on Saturday?
Yeah, I think, there's no medicine like winning, right? And so, it was certainly a really, really important win for, I think our staff and our, student athletes, our players, just everybody involved. And because, when you work as hard as our players have worked and our staff has worked week in, week out, every day. When you're doing all of the little things the right way, that Sunday through Friday, in practice, in meetings, doing all of the little things, off the field the right way, and they're not translating into W's or, again, just being really, really candid, great execution, on the field on Saturday. It's really hard. It's really hard mentally, hey, we're doing all this. We're practicing hard. We're practicing, with a lot of energy and there's toughness in practice and all of those things. And yet it's not resulting. It's hard. And so for it to finally, you see at least some fruit to the labor and especially, obviously in the second half. So it was a big win. It was a really, really important win for I think everybody. And, now what do we do with that? Right. And, can it be a catalyst for some momentum? Certainly can it be a catalyst for some confidence? You'd like to think so. You hope so, right? You have, as you mentioned, we have another tough opponent this Saturday, against Texas Tech. And so, we gotta come out and build upon that second half and, play, like we did the second half, do that from the very, very start, this game on Saturday.
Mack, just sticking with that before we, look ahead here, but what was the moment, if one sticks out from that game, where you went from, oh gosh, to like, there's a chance here? I mean, there was a lot of different players that had to make huge plays in that game, but when did you kind of get a sense of like, this might turn in our favor?
Yeah, I don't know if there was one, Craig, and it's a great question, and I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't know if there's one particular moment, certainly, when the recovered fumble for, return for a touchdown, that was probably, if I had to pick one, that was probably it. But it was, I thought that, we started to get in a rhythm offensively and with tempo, and I could just see confidence grow and build on the sideline. And so I thought that was really, really important. You could just see some of that belief. You started to see some players, be really, really vocal on the sideline, both offensively and defensively. And so, again, I thought that was really, really good. I thought halftime was really, as you can imagine, right, walking into halftime, nobody was happy. Nobody was happy. But I thought, the way halftime was handled and it was focused on, this is, if we're going to win this game, these are the things we're going to have to do this second half. And there was no finger pointing. And so I thought, that halftime was really, really solid. And I thought that when we left the locker room, everybody was in a good mindset. So, all of those things, obviously came together.
Mack, the Big 12 now at 18 in that meeting yesterday, eventually will be at 16. Right now it's at 14, and it changes. And there's been such a tumultuous couple of years since Texas OU and throughout. You added the 4 schools from the Pac-12. There have been, at least there's been speculation, and fans from Oregon State, Washington State got kind of caught up and excited about the possibility that they were on the Big 12 radar. With all due respect to both programs, because they're both very good and wish them the best, have they been in any way, shape, or form in conversations with the Big 12?
No, not right now. And, you know, again, I appreciate the question, and you know, those are two schools that somehow, some way they deserve to remain in a you know, Power 5, Power 4 conference. You know, I can't speak to the future, and you know, when I say future, you know, that could be, you know, as soon as 6 months from now, a year from now. I think right now, you know, everybody's kind of hit pause and trying to digest, and because we're just in the throes of football, and you know, when you're in the throes of a football season, it's all hands on deck for everybody. There's been, you know, very little conversation about, you know, further expansion, and certainly there's been, you know, no conversation between the Big 12 and those two institutions. Not saying it won't happen in the future.
Right, yeah, because I mean, who knows? I mean, no one expected most of what we've seen the last couple of years to ever happen either. Now, Joey McGuire in Texas Tech come into town. It's the first time since he's been the head coach there. They played the year that he left. Is that still kind of an awkward, like, game for you and for I guess, Baylor and Tech because of it?
No, not really. I feel like, you know, when you think about the Big 12 and particularly moving forward, you know, we obviously have the big rivalry with TCU, but I also feel like, you know, Texas Tech is a bit of rivalry, a bit of a rivalry, and it's really important to both fan bases. And of course, you know, we made, you know, we made the decision, you know, to bring it back to campuses, and I think by bringing it back to campuses, it even, you know, maybe elevated the rivalry even more. So again, it's an important game, you know, to the fan bases, and you know, the fact that Joey was here for 4 years, you know, I had the opportunity to work with him, obviously is a nuance to all of it. You know, Joey, the head coach at Texas Tech, because of the time that he spent, you know, here. He's not the head coach at Texas Tech if he you know, doesn't spend some time under Dave Aranda. I can say that with certainty, and you know, I think Joey would tell you the same, and he's got great respect for Coach. So, you know, wish him the very best, and I wish him the very best on most Saturdays, but certainly not this Saturday.
Mack, thank you very much. You added a bunch of people to sports. I think it's the sport, health, and medicine. Is that correct? I saw that press release that came out. Is that just adding to your staff? Yeah,
that's it's some of it adding and some of it replacing, and yeah. So just again, moving forward and making sure that we're really focused and concentrated on how we take care of our student athletes.
Thank you. We'll see you Saturday. Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, with us on 365 Sports today rather than